Welcome to another short episode of Out and About with Trev. I'm also coupling this episode with my other playlist about my plans to hike the Australian Alps walking track. This is a monster 680 odd kilometre track that goes from Walhalla in East Gippsland all the way north and then a bit east and then north again, tapping out at Tharwa, which is near Canberra. It's one of the most majestic and difficult walking tracks in Australia, and I've been planning to hike this for a number of years. But especially over the last 12 months, I've started to put a lot of plans in place, getting some of my preparations together, exactly what sort of meals I'd need for an extended trip, because this thing's going to be like 50 odd days or something, and so you can't be having obviously you're not having your normal meals on day 50. So I've been playing around with, bought a dehydrator. I've played around with some of the meals that I've used for a number of years hiking. I've got my spud and onion mix, also pancakes are a mix I'll be able to use on that hike. There's a number of other things I'll be able to use, and I've been playing around with that over the last 12 months. And actually, at the end of last year, I did a 9-day hike specifically to test whether I could be out for 9 days and whether the food supplies would work, because it's about 9 days from food drop to food drop in some of the big sections of the AAWT. So it was all coming together. And then right at the end of last year, I did a bushwalk, a really awesome bushwalk to celebrate turning 50. And I hiked from JB Plain, where my mum's ashes are scattered, all the way down over the Fainters, and was meant to tap out at Bright, which is where my dad's ashes are, or where we lived for a number of years. That trip didn't go to plan, but I did end up getting to Bright, and it was an awesome trip. I had some tricky situations. I actually had snow at one point, and I was sort of very much towards the end of last year, I was hoping that I was getting things together and I'd be able to have a serious crack at doing the AAWT in 2020. Unfortunately, we had the bushfires come through, and now huge swathes of the AAWT are closed off. Some of the huts and bridges have been burnt. The rivers and creeks have been compromised. There's all sorts of debris, and the water quality's been been compromised. It's some of the creeks up there aren't what you'd want to be drinking unless they're running pristine and clear. And I'd already started to feel that it was going to take a while for them to clear up. And I'd planned to do a big hike over Christmas, and that got cancelled because basically the fire was really close. There was fires at the back of Mount Bogong, which was where I was planning on going. And one thing about fire is I always prefer to be somewhere else. And especially when you're bushwalking, you don't have many options. You can only hike as fast as you can hike, and fire can easily outrun you in the bush. So it's not something that I want to take chances with. So I just cancelled that hike. I'd already started feeling that more than likely my 2020 campaign to do the AAWT had been snuffed out, and I really hadn't got any further than that. And now we've got this COVID-19 virus running around the planet, and it's all become very, very tricky. Like many people, I'm sort of in self-isolation at the moment. I'm not heading out to do basically anything. We're all being told to stay at home, and so that's where I got to at the end of last year. And then obviously with the COVID-19 virus running around this year, it's all compromised things. And I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. One of the good things that's come out of a bad situation is that the Australian government has decided to give those that are the most disadvantaged in the community a $750, basically it's a stimulus package. And I've been able to lock down a nice cheap vehicle. One of the biggest issues that I've had over the last few years is I haven't had a car, and it's caused me a lot of problems. I haven't been able to get to certain locations. I've had to knock back work, and it's also meant that I couldn't go to some of the bushwalks or go on some of the bushwalks that I wanted to do. I have been able to travel out and do quite a bit of bushwalking, and I've travelled up on public transport. It's a big day to get out there. I leave here at first thing in the morning. I get the first bus down. I get a train down to Southern Cross. I get a V-line train from Southern Cross to Wangaratta, and then I get a bus from Wangaratta to Bright. I get to Bright at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and then I wait a couple of hours, until the Omeo to Bright bus, which I must say has been absolutely amazing. They've dropped me off at various locations across the mount, over Mount Hotham, the front of Diamantina Hut. They've both dropped me off and picked me up from Diamantina Hut, which is the start of the Razorback. They've also dropped me at Mount Lock Car Park, even down in the village, JB Plain, and it was great when I did my 6-day trip out at JB Plain, and I was able to just get dropped off, walk a couple of 100 metres, set up camp, stayed there for 6 days, and then I walked out a couple of 100 metres and got picked up by the bus. But it's meant I haven't been able to go to some places that I would have liked to have gone to, such as Mount Bogong. It's about an $80 taxi ride to go from Bright to where you get dropped off. It also means you've got to be out at a certain time to meet the transport, and that just puts pressure, and it adds a component that I'm not used to in terms of bushwalking. Sure, you've got to come out, but do you have to be out by 9 a.m. sort of thing? It changes the dynamic. So I'm looking forward to getting this thing, getting on the road and being able to go out to some of these places. And my focus for the next 3-4 months, whatever it takes, is going to be getting the car on the road. It needs a bit of work, got to change a head gasket, it needs a few other things. But nothing too serious, it's very straight, hasn't been bingled, looks great. It's got heaps of room for all my stuff. And that's going to be another thing, because I'll be able to cart all my gear, not just the gear I think I'll need, but all my gear, so lights. Even today I've had to set up lights. You know, my green screen, I've gone out on location, and we get halfway through filming and someone says, oh look, you know, that window's in the way, have you got a green screen? And I go, yes, but it's at home. So that I'll be able to cart all that gear, even some of the stuff that I have that I've wanted to have on site, like a ladder, for instance. There's been times when people have said, geez, could you put a camera up there? I go, yeah, well, have you got a ladder? And I go, no. And I go, okay. So little things like that. And this thing's going to be great. And so in terms of work, it's going to be awesome. In terms of bushwalking, it's going to be awesome. And it's going to give me something to focus on over the next few months while we spend this time in lockdown. And the lockdowns are getting tighter and tighter. So my only fear is that by the time I get the thing on the road, I can get most of my supplies via online, which is great, and I can get them sent direct here. But it is going to make it tricky, because I do need certain businesses to be open. The guys that are going to do the machining of the heads, I need them to be open. Ultimately, when I get the thing on the road and I take it for a roadworthy, I need the roadworthy place to be open. And I need Vic Roads to be open so I can go and get the thing registered. So hopefully we can have some of these things keep running. I mean, businesses everywhere are closed down, and we already had a decimated retail market, and I can only feel for people in the retail world, because I ran my own shop at one point, and you know, it'd be crazy, you know, to be forced to, you know, business is tough anyway, but to be forced to shut down, that'd be nuts. But anyway, guys, all I can say is stay safe, try to do the right thing. This thing's a nasty thing. It is a thing that we should probably take serious, and all I can say is over the next few months I hope to get my car sorted out and be in a good place at the back end when we bounce out, to be able not only go out and do some bushwalks, but also be able to chase some of the bigger money and bigger jobs and things like that, which I'm excited about the opportunities that this thing might provide. It's going to be pretty cool, but we've got to get there first. So stay safe, and yeah, hopefully, well, I think 2020 is almost a write-off already, and we'll just see how 2021 goes. And ultimately, just to get back to my doing the AAWT, it's not going to be next year. It's certainly not this year. It's not going to be next year. Hopefully, it might be a 2022 thing. I've always said that with the budget for doing this thing, that basically if I had my own vehicle at half the budget, and people might think that's a bit of an overestimate, but that's actually about where it sits, because to do the hike, I've actually got to load all my food drops up, go out and place them in the particular spots along the track so that I can go and meet up with them on the hike. So you've got to go and place them all, then you've got to go back afterwards when I've done the thing, you've got to go back and pick them all up. Just to do that, that's a big trip. I mean, I've got to go to Canberra. Just to do that and to hire a car, and you know, everything, it's going to cost about $4,000. If I got my own car, I'm probably only up for maybe $500 or $600 worth of petrol, and that's it. That's a huge saving, and that might actually tip it. You know, originally when I planned to do this thing back in 2008, that was my plan. I lived in Bright, and the idea was I was going to drive to the spots, drop off the food drops, and off I went. We might be getting back to that. It's pretty cool if I can get there. Anyway, that's about it. Stay safe, and see you on the other side. Cheers, guys.